Heyo everybody, Haku here with my live reaction or read-through for this week's Tower of God, Urek Mazino chapter 53, The Vote. And I'm going to try to not do an excessively long Haku intro or anything like that. I don't have too much to say that wouldn't be repeating myself or anything. But I will say, it's nice hearing everybody else's perspectives and comments and stuff every week. And I feel as though, so I think somebody in the comments said that Naya basically said, he's done with Tower of God. He'll do like a big discussion with everybody when everybody's done reading the spinoff. And he might change his mind on that because I at many times have thought that about many things. I thought that about One Piece for a while and I took months away from it, maybe even a year plus away from it before coming back. So, minds may change, but I also think that's a bit valid. And for me, I am not looking to stop reading yet, because though I have an immense amount of criticisms, I have been enjoying more than I have not been enjoying the spinoff. That said, while I have been enjoying it, I have criticized it. I think the writing in a lot of places is not very good, and there are some moments that are actually bad, like the end of the Crown game, where we just threw away all of the solid conflicts that we had built up. There are issues I have for certain, but not enough that I'm going to quit yet. But again, with this ending, and we'll get season 4 eventually, things could get so bad to a point where I do just give up on it. I think when talking to Ron Can, I described myself as being in an abusive relationship with Tower of God. I try to defend it as much as I can and soften the blows of my criticism as much as I can, but the writing of Tower of God keeps beating me. So I am not in the strongest relationship with it, and one of these days I may finally just give up and walk away. That's kind of where I am. So coming off of last week's chapter, we got this stuff with the explanations from Edwan, which it's nuanced, where there were some people in the comments like, I don't think it's a retcon, it's just kind of poorly delivered lore and weirdly delivered that it's Edwan and Urek, and that's something I said too. Weird that it's Edwan and Urek and not a character that it'd be more meaningful for. Like some of the princesses, it would have been nice if we got this lore with like Dorothy or Maria going into season 4, something like that, a character that it might mean more to. And also some people saying, I think it's a retcon, but it's not that big of a retcon. One thing somebody pointed out was, the excuse that people knew of was that if they got all 13 months, they'd become Zahard's bride, because that's why I think it was Israel Fernandez who said that. So again, crediting comments when I can, who had said, that's why Garam was rooting for N to be the one to do it, or whatever. That's what people knew. So that wasn't even the original excuse that was known. I'm trying to think, I'm so sorry, Mayhead or Mayhem, that had the other comment that brought up, because again, before I get off track, saying like, what people knew about was Become Zahard's bride or whatever. So the thing that they didn't know about was that you could go up to the next floor. So that's not necessarily a retcon, just a little bit weird that we didn't get this information from Garam, that even N and Garam either didn't know this, or that's one of the things, because there were things that Garam didn't tell to Bomb, that it's just one of those things that didn't get passed along to Bomb. It's just a weird place to deliver it, way to deliver it, but it might not necessarily be a retcon. And the same goes for the other comment that I was going to bring up. If that is the case, of course, now that we know it's the case, that whoever collected them at first they said that you would get the ability to go up to the next floor, and we know that there were 13, which means somebody represented Zahard. There was a actual Zahard princess, and somebody also was representing Arlen and representing V, which could have added into, this is before their breakup was irreconcilable, because their breakup became sort of irreconcilable when the Amazu situation was blamed on V. But before that, it's like they were having arguments over whether they should have kept climbing or not, but they weren't at like all-out war or anything yet. They were kind of preparing for it, honestly. The proto-FUG, kind of preparing for it by becoming proto-FUG. But they weren't at all-out war or anything, and this could have been a little bit of a concession to stop that, to be like, okay, you know what? V, you can put out princesses. Arlen, you can put out princesses, and if they're the one to collect all the 13 months, then in a peaceful, relatively enough manner, you can get the right to go to the next floor. But what I think is, however this going up to the next floor thing works, much like we know about the becoming a bride of Zahard thing, Zahard was probably planning behind the scenes for it to not actually work that way. He was still gaming the system and screwing everybody over. And Gaston was well, I guess Gaston didn't know everything about the Ghost of the 13 Months because he found it out from Men. So I guess Gaston didn't know all of Zahard's treachery there. But again, much like the Ghost of the 13 Months, you also couldn't technically go to the top floor or go to the next floor, even if you did collect all of the 13 months, because you would still need the rings. So the rings were probably another method of Zahard being like, okay, I'm supposed to let the person who collects them go to the next floor. The rings may have been just yet another way, and the red dump or whatever, I just call it the red light district, say that's the red light district, that's a bit better. That is yet another way that Zahard was like, hey, even if they collect them, I still have a way to screw them over. I still think that was just another bit of treachery from Zahard's side of things. It's very interesting, though. I want to know more about these original princesses now, if they are the spirits within the 13 months or whatever. But also something else that I thought, like rereading and watching other people's reactions, is I was just like, Edwan has to not necessarily be telling the truth 100% here. Like, he could be hiding information from Urek, but I don't necessarily know that he is. I think Edwan himself may just be misinformed. I think that Gaston and or Zahard could have just lied to Edwan about certain things. Like, some things that he said, from what we know as readers previously, again, unless we are retconning canon material like Floor of Death, some of the things Edwan said just doesn't really line up. So if that's the case, either again, we're retconning Floor of Death, which I think retconning and saying that the blog posts is a bit ridiculous at this point because you're unwriting things that were very good for things that aren't even an improvement, and like stuff like Adori's presentation is a big step down. But I think that an entirely new level of bad writing would be to retcon and undo Floor of Death. I think that would be a serious issue. Like, that would be truly abysmal writing if that's what we're actually doing. But I think that it is just a situation where one thing that in the very early days I would praise Tower of God for, and again, the writing in Tower of God is not the writing of the very early days, is something that I always praised about Season 1 and early Season 2, when again, I'm reading stuff like that, even reading stuff like the workshop battle week to week. One thing I would praise during that time is when you get lore drops in Tower of God, even in the old days, you can't trust all of the lore drops, because sometimes characters have their own agenda and they're just kind of lying, or they're framing the lore in a certain way to get what they want, like Yuhan Sung. Or characters just only know what they know from the tower. They only know what the official tower narrative has told them, so they don't have all of the true deep dark information. So again, that's something that I used to like, is that sometimes when we got a lore drop, the lore drop would be biased toward what the characters had been told, or what the characters wanted whoever they were telling the lore to believe. And if that's something that CU could tap back into again, and if that's something happening here, I think that's a good thing, actually. I think it's a good thing if it's not a retcon, but if our lore drops are tainted by who it is that's saying them. Because remember, N got her information from Arlen's pocket and from Zahard. Now, Zahard and Arlen both probably had very biased narratives, and both had their own things that they wanted to push knowledge-wise onto N. They wanted to flavor the reveal a certain way, and Garam just got this information from what N said, right? Or I guess no, N just gave Arlen's pocket, or gave the location of Arlen's pocket to Garam. So Garam's side of the information was again just it was just Arlen's skewed version. So she didn't also get Zahard's skewed version like N did, but she got Arlen's skewed version. And even then, the things that Garam was saying to Bomb, she purposefully left things out and was purposely vague about some other things. So we could look at the Floor of Death reveals and look at things Garam said and be like, okay, Garam is limited by the things that she knows or doesn't know, and she's also trying to not put everything in, to leave certain things out, and has her own bias. And we can look at the lore drop from her in that way, but then also look at the lore drop here from Edwan in the way that Edwan potentially has things that he knows or doesn't know, and also things that he's willing to divulge to a stranger like Urek, but we don't know if he's willing to be completely, totally, like it seems like it's just goofy, silly, he'll be open and say whatever to Urek. But again, as a family head, it would make more sense if he's not really willing to be super duper honest completely with Urek. Urek is a stranger and all. If CU was good at writing, you would hope that's a part of Edwan's character. But also that Edwan's lore drop could be tainted by Gastang or Zahard just lying to him. Like, Edwan might not actually have all of the info on the princess stuff. So again, this turned into a long Haku intro on accident once again, but I think that was the big thing that just got me thinking and talking from last week. And again, maybe I'm trying to make excuses for Tower of God, and maybe I'm trying to soften how bad it is, but Occam's razor, it probably, just from what we've seen in Season 3, it probably is that CU just is confused on his own lore and doesn't know what he's doing, kind of. That's a really harsh thing to say, but after Season 3, can we really argue that that might not be it? Bro's like, I've got the mobile game money now. I don't really need to worry about lore. Also, I have never played the mobile games, but some of the things that I've seen from them seem kind of neat. So it's like, why not just take a page out of the mobile games book? I don't know. Aside from all of that, we got the stuff toward the end with the princesses, and that seems to be where we're moving now. I am interested in where the princess stuff will go. I think the snake charmer stuff is neat, but I don't care for tying it into Urek stuff. I feel like Garam and Urek already had their own things enough, even though Garam is a princess, that we didn't need to tie in the snake charmer stuff. I think that I would have rather saved Snake Charmer stuff for things surrounding Anne Dorothy and her character and Anak. That would have been a lot nicer, but again, who knows if we're ever getting any Anak character development ever again in our lives. We don't know that that's ever going to be a thing again. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up is, I mentioned at the end of last video, I've been a little bit disappointed with Baekryun, and I think that's still one of my biggest concerns here, is again unwriting the blog post stuff. The blog post stuff was great with Urek and Baekryun, so if Baekryun here is a far weaker character than the blog posts, not weaker just as in power scaling, but I guess that's kind of important too, because he is supposed to be excessively strong, but not weaker just in a power scaling sense, but weaker. If his story isn't as good, I'm going to be incredibly disappointed. And I am going to be vocal with my disappointment, probably, because I love Baekryun from the lore. So, either way, sorry for the long Haku intro. Let's actually get into reading. We have, when we were on the floor of tests. And then, I promised I'd kill Zahard for you. So you're coming with me. We have both of them reacting. What? How do these two know each other exactly? And again, I feel like, what do you mean, Garam? They were on the team coming from the floor of tests. Then Urek Mazino, episode 53, The Vote. And they were going to vote on whether or not to leave the town, right? Encho set that up. I don't know what kind of lies she's been feeding you, but don't listen to her. She'll never grant your wish. She's going to stab you in the back when you need her most. That is kind of her thing. Whoa, what the hell? Why did it just die? It didn't die. It simply went back to join the others. Water serpents are not independent creatures. Huh? Not so fast. Where do you think you're going? And we know that they're like hive minds. I won't let you ruin this city any more than you already have. Ruin? What are you talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. You've been spreading a virus among the citizens. A virus? I don't know what you're talking about. You liar, I can see right through you. Where's your evidence for all these accusations? First you accuse me of being a murderer, and now you're saying I spread some mysterious virus. What do you want from me exactly? I want you to stay exactly where I can keep an eye on you, and not try anything funny. Fine. I will for the time being. What? Just not expecting her to go along with it? I didn't think you'd let her lock you up so easily. I wouldn't say that. I have nowhere else to stay, since the citizens are becoming increasingly wary of outsiders. So you really didn't spread that virus. Why do you still trust me? When I'm harboring the person you most despise. You've been talking to Mago then? She didn't tell me much, just that you two aren't on good terms. But I can still feel your rage toward Mago and her adoration for you. Adoration? I don't know what she's promised you, but you can't trust her. Don't get me wrong, I don't trust her. I simply need her powers. To kill Zahard. Okay. Before I came up to this floor, I was told that irregulars, like me and Mago. Okay, so again, confirming the others are considered irregulars. I like that. I like that the other ones that were once shining count as irregulars. Because they are really. Have the power to kill the heads of the great families and the king. It makes sense that she needs Mago's power, since she said she wants to kill King Zahard. Hey, we need to talk. And again, that makes her one of the rule-breaking characters, like I mentioned before. Like White, through his demon stuff, can break the rules, making him somebody capable of doing this stuff. Same with Calavan being a rule breaker because of the essence of bravery, essence of nothingness. Or I guess potentially Karaka because of whatever is going on with the Zahard clones, and Yama because of the power of the fangs that Wang Wang was born with somehow that lets them break the tower rules. So again, we've seen characters with powers that break the rules, and FUG has either made or tried to make those characters into slayers. Because, of course, for somebody to be a slayer, they would have to have some method. And it seems like the method here for the princess for trying to kill Zahard is that she can use the power of an irregular, using Mago's powers. Hey, we need to talk. Garam? How do you know her? Well, I told you, we met on the floor of tests. What's the matter now? No, I know there's more to it. I heard what you said earlier about killing King Zahard for her. Do you realize that's treason? And how dare she discuss such matters with you as a princess of Zahard? This is an unforgivable offense. When I was on the floor of tests, I didn't understand why she wanted to kill the king. But now that I'm here, I think I get it. Why should you stay loyal to a king who wants her dead? Or why should she stay loyal to a king who wants her dead? He's not the one who gave those orders. Who did then? I don't know. I don't need to know why I need to kill her. Okay, sorry. I don't know why I need to kill her. And who even wants her dead? Snap out of it. Only death awaits you in this city. You need to leave. And okay, this is Gogo Jung trying to tell people to leave the city and start climbing the tower again. Let's vote to have everyone leave the city. Gogo Jung. What in the... You don't know what you're talking about. This place is our home away from home. Yeah, right. It's more like a sad little refuge for losers who didn't have the guts to climb the tower. What? That's right. You're just losers who folded in the face of hardship. You little, who does he think he is? Let's teach him a lesson. And while I disagree, because let's say you're just a random guy, head-on's like, okay, you're going to climb the tower now, then you pass the second floor and it's like, I really don't want to keep doing this. So I kind of get it there, but on the other side of things, it's like, if you don't give up, if you make it to the top, then you can return home, you can go do whatever you want. I feel like even though I wouldn't want to kill people or participate in this bad stuff, I would still want to continue climbing. Can you teach him a lesson through your vote? Or you can teach him a lesson through your vote. We have intimidation from Urek. Gogajung, I told you to keep your head down until the results came out. Why should I do that when those losers are protesting on the streets? I can't just sit back and watch when all our teammates are bedridden. More than anything, they piss me off. They make me think I might end up just like them. Just go back inside. We're not citizens here. We can't interfere with the vote. If the results aren't in our favor, I'm going to kick them out myself, no matter what you say. The next day, Garamzahard, come to the city hall. We have the results of the vote. And we have the opposed defeating the in favor for vacating the city. I figured the citizens wouldn't want to leave. But now, Your Highness, I'll have to figure something out. Any thoughts, Urek? But then again, they know what's at stake. They know that if they're opposed to leaving the city, they're just going to have people sent to kill them. Like, maybe you should just vacate, try it again somewhere else or something. Then I'll have to figure something out. Any thoughts, Urek? Well, I guess I'll just have to evict them by force. Wait, we're the only ones who've seen the results. When I make my announcement today, I'm going to tell them that the majority voted in favor of evacuating the city. So I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing. Encho is putting their lives and safety first above honesty, which is bad, but he's trying to save them. So you're going to rig the results? Unless, of course, Encho is the one doing the poisoning. Encho? No. I'm going to save the citizens from a great misfortune. And again, I don't think he is, because, I don't know, it seems like what he's doing is to protect the people. Whether by your hands or those that govern this floor, the city will be destroyed. Exactly what I was saying, like, even if they vote to stay, it's like, you're voting to stay, but you know that the goal that the regulars were given was to wipe you out. Even if they fail to do so, then if they've sent one group of regulars to do it, don't you think they'll probably just send another? Or heck, even eventually give up and just have a ranker nuke the place? I gave them a chance to cast their votes, and now they'll leave the city of their own will. Alright, that's what's best for them. But then you'd be lying. Alright then, problem solved, says Urek. I don't know, I'm kind of with Encho and Urek. It's not the cleanest solution, it is lying, but the only other option is then that they all get evicted by force. So isn't this, while it's not the morally perfect option, isn't this better than them getting kicked out by force or killed? This must have been your plan all along. You're making the right choice. You're being a wise mayor. Okay, we have some energy here. The masses don't always know what's best for them. Is he copying what Edwan was doing with some tracking particles? It's a good thing they have such a smart mayor to think for them. Encho, are you really okay with this? I know you love this city. It's alright. I always knew this place wouldn't last forever. Could I ask you for a favor, Your Highness? A favor? Soon the city will fall apart, and we'll all have to find a new path. Whether that means taking the test and leaving the floor, or staying here and carving out a new sanctuary, I'll have to choose between those two as well. And personally, I would like to climb the tower with you. Huh? I have no right to stay with the citizens after rigging the vote. Do I have permission to join your team? Hencho, I feel like this is kind of sus. But again, I somewhat want to trust him. Well, I suppose my attendant is gone, so I'll think about it. Thank you. Yeah, this is sus. Is he maybe working with the Zahard Empire or something? That night. And we have Urek still spying on him. I think he was tracking him with that stuff. Or wait, no, it wasn't that he was copying Urek. It's something that Garam did last time by placing the dust on the princess and then tracking her. The following day, there were 232 votes in favor and 157 votes against. Therefore, it's been decided that the city will be shut down. This is ridiculous. We demand another vote. There's no way I'm staying right here. I understand this is that this is difficult to accept, but every single citizen voted on this decision. I ask you all to respect this process. This is ridiculous. I didn't vote for this. Now, please allow me to say a few words as your mayor. There is a virus spreading through the city, which is why I put a restriction on the number of people who gathered here today. Perhaps you already suspected this, but this virus was artificially created. If I had to guess, it was probably those who rule this floor. Even if we refuse to leave the city, they'll find a way to shut it down. And I have a feeling their means will be much more violent, since they have many ways to threaten regulars who are refusing to take the test. Of course, I love this city. I would like to preserve it as well, but I also believe we all made a wise choice. That's why I'll carry this city in my heart as I climb the tower. I'll become a ranker, return to this floor, and rebuild our beloved city and sanctuary. Who will come with me? And he wins people over. He really managed to flip this on its head. Excuse me. Wait. What is it? I have some concerns regarding the results of the vote. Concerns? Yes. I believe the vote was rigged. And we have everyone's reactions. That's a baseless accusation. Who even are you? I am Bakrian. You manipulated the results, Mayor Encho. That's nonsense. What proof do you have? I know this will be hard to believe, but I have the ability to hear the story of the Shinsu that flows through this tower. And the Shinsu around you is telling me, what? That you're a selfish liar who can't be trusted. I don't have time for this. You're using some kind of fairy tale to call me a liar? This is ridiculous. Bring me the box. These are the ballots from the citizens that were counted yesterday. He has the ballots? He definitely came prepared. Pour it on the ground. Go ahead, count them. Let's see if you can still call me a liar when you're done. And he lifts one up. The Shinsu is showing me the fingerprints on the ballots. These ballots carry identical fingerprints. In fact, every single one of these ballots has only one individual's fingerprints. I wonder whose they are. You. Where did he come from? And we end there. Okay? I am somewhat interested. I don't know. I don't like this city vote conflict that much. Again, I don't necessarily think it's bad. I'm just not that invested. I'm not that bought in. It's fine. The chapter I thought was solid. I thought it was pretty good. I like the stuff with Urek and the princess and Mago and everything. But I don't know. I'm fairly whelmed. I thought it wasn't bad. It was solid. It was fine. I think Encho is interesting, where he is kind of sus, where I could see him, he's trying to get in with the princess. That's suspicious. But at the same time, you could also read it as that he is just caring for the citizens, and caring for the citizens might mean getting a little underhanded sometimes. You could view it that way. But then Bakrian, again, it's neat. Oh, I can hear the story of the Shinsu. I am, again, still just nervous for where they go with him. I'll have to see where it ends up. I mean, it's not the strongest introduction to the power, if that is the case. Like, I like the idea, oh, he's special, he's chosen by Shinsu. Like, that's something that we kind of knew from the blog post. But you maybe could have presented it in a different way than, but I can see your fingerprints on these ballots and prove that you are rigging this vote. And again, proving that he's rigging the vote would just lead to the deaths of all these people. It's not the strongest case for the introduction, and also just the idea of, if you're one of the random citizens, this guy's just like, the Shinsu told me that you're lying. Okay. I get like what Inchu said with it. You're trying to call me a liar because of a fairy tale. Like, if you're a random person, okay. Again, not bad, just not what I would have went with, probably. I don't know. So either way, I guess we'll have to wait and see where we go from here. But with that aside, I don't think I have a lot left to say. So I am also interested. It's a bummer that we haven't seen more of the other teammates. I'm interested in what could potentially be done with Gokujung's character here after what we heard, being afraid he might end up like them. Again, Siu maybe went a bit too far with him being just a complete jackass. There were times when he betrayed them for like no reason. He just didn't need to. So, I think it's hard to pull the character back from that. But either way, I guess comment down there, tell me what you thought of the chapter and my first thoughts and reaction and all that if you want to. And subscribe if you want to as well. It'd be appreciated. It would also be appreciated if you wanted to help support the channel by dropping a super thanks or sharing around. If you wanted to help support the channel by becoming a member or patron, you'll get your name at the end of videos and get One Piece Bingo early in addition to helping support the channel. So just hit join down below to become a member. Go to patreon.com/Haku of the Tubes, or a link will be in the description to become a patron. Thank you so much to people who are patrons and members. Thank you to chosen regulars Evan Holly and Bertie Wooster, Magical Girls Dee Van and Maru, Jerryton Student, David Langstaff, Slayer Candidates, SG and Stan Cedar, and Pure Element Patiardial. Thank you all so much for your support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time.